Hi, my name is Ashley Fullenlove, and this is my final presentation on my internship. Okay, it's kind of hard to see, but a little bit about me. I am a senior, and I'll be graduating in the spring. I'm a double major in accounting and business administration. I'm on the competition cheer team, and for my internship, I was an auditor at Cedar Point for the merchandise department. A little bit about Cedar Point. They are one of the 13 parks that is owned by Cedar Fair. Part of the mission for Cedar Fair is to provide world-class thrills, fun, family entertainment, and we do this by using our 5 principles, which are safety, service, courtesy, cleanliness, and integrity. Cedar Point has different departments, so as in the merchandise, and then there's also rides, games, and foods. More about Cedar Point, Jason McClure is the general manager, and he's been there since 2014. My supervisor, which is the supervisor for all of merchandise, was Charcy Simmons, and we also had location supervisors in the merchandise department, so these supervisors split up by locations, so some of them were for fronts, backs, middles, and then we also had outsides, which was for the stores at the apartments and then for the water park. Some of my daily roles were to go through the auditor's basket was the first thing I'd do. So in the morning, we have a basket up front on the desk, which is for all the employees to throw their voids in and any notes they have for us about the day before that need fixed by us. And then around 8:15, our report usually comes in online, and this we just go through, which is all the information from the day before, which shows the over and shortages of every employee that worked at every location. And then with this, we just check if it's above 20 or under 20, then we look into it. And then the main thing on our report is we look for left on locations, which is a big deal because this is usually hundreds and $50 bills that get left in the registers, which is just a simple mistake that employees make. We also want to do this in the morning, as soon as we get there, so before the park opens. This way, if we find, if I go to a location that I think there's a $100 bill laying around, then we want to get there before the new employees come in, so this way they don't take it and not say anything, and then we wouldn't know who has it. Then we also talk to employees and find out the reason for the overages and shortages, and this way we have all the contact information for all the employees, so we can go in and call whoever worked the register that was short $60 and ask them hey, we didn't see anything, did anything happen? And usually they'll let us know if they forgot to ring something up or if they overrang or just forgot to do something. And then I also have Excel sheet, which is what we record our over and short report on. So this is just us organizing all of our information that we send to our supervisor and then also to revenue. So we pretty much just put from our over short report the person's name that worked the cash register, their ID number, and then how much they were short, and then we'd put a note with our name next to it so they know who looked into it, and then we would just put so and so needed to void this check number, and you provide the check number so then revenue can go through and make sure it's correct and find all the information they need. We also did things called Scooter Bug and Slingshot, which this we only did once a week, and this was just at the end of the week we just do each day, and it's for extra events that are at Cedar Point that cost extra. And so Slingshot is a extra attraction that you get in, and it slings you up into the air. And so we would just look into it and see how many people bought tickets that bought regular price tickets and then also used their platinum passes or associate discounts. This way we could organize and see which is getting the most purchases and then what days are the busiest, just to keep track of everything. Then we also fixed the voids, so this could be from our auditor's basket or just from looking into the report we could find if there was anything that needed to get fixed. So if a receipt needed to be voided, if it was a negative, so someone bought something, it would show up negative, and then we would have to ring it up positive, showing that it would cancel and fix everything. We also would perform random audits at every location, so this was my favorite part because I got to leave the office and walk around Cedar Point. We would, if it was random, we'd just pick a location and walk around and see which wasn't not the busiest, because we didn't want to get in the way if they didn't have enough employees. And we would just pick the register, ask the employee for the name, write it down, and then we'd open the receipt to write down all their income for the day, and then subtract the credit cards and voids. This way we could check how much should be in the register cash-wise, and then we'd just count the cash and then make sure it was about even. And then we also did non-random audits, which we have a watch list, so if someone has been short a couple days in a row or is always missing like a 50 or something like that, then we'd put them on our watch list, and sometimes we'd just go through and pick one of these people and spread them out just to make it not look suspicious. For my learning experience, I definitely learned a lot because I've only had a couple past jobs and this was my first internship. So at the beginning, I learned how to deal with stress of a new work environment, and this definitely came into play the first week when I was being trained because my supervisor is super busy and couldn't train us all within the same time, so we had to sit there and wait for her to get done answering calls or helping people up front. So there was a lot of downtime, and I felt like I wasn't doing what I should have been doing, and I didn't know if I was learning everything. So it was very spread out and stressful that first week. And then also teamwork skill. So this was, I was in an office with inventory and data clerks, so you have to learn to be a people person and be able to deal with other people just to get the work done. And then I also used our computer program that was for the accounting department, and we used TMS to keep track of what was being taken out of cash control, so what employees were taking out and how much they were turning in and the amount for every dollar bill. And then I also used Excel, which was for the report, and then emails to send the reports in and any information to whoever it needed to go to. And then I also got the learning experience of a full-time job because, like I said, I've only had 2 jobs in the past, and these were both part-time. And so this was, when I signed up, it was supposed to be a full-time position, 40 hours a week, and I definitely got the taste of a full-time job and more. So I actually got to do, some weeks I worked 50 to 60 hours, and then I also went 11 days without a day off of work. So I definitely got the workload, and it was a good experience, but I don't know if I'd ever work that much again. And then I also got the experience of, on Sundays we had meetings with everyone in the merchandise department. So this was all the like location supervisors, my supervisor, and then like warehouse and everything. So this was just to get everyone on the same page of what needed to be updated, or like what needed to be passed on to the employees under the supervisors. And for us, we'd just go in and let them know if people needed to start checking their drawers because of a lot of left on locations, or if people weren't counting correctly and there's tons of voids and stuff like that, was for our end. And then other people, it could have been just letting each other know what's going on at the locations, or if they need more inventory and stuff like that. And then I also took a class which was just for supervisors, and it was Fundamentals of Leadership, which was actually a great experience that I got out of my internship. And this was a 4-week class that was only once a week. And in the class, we learned the difference between managing and leading. So they didn't say either one's a bad thing, but you do want to try balancing the two because managers tend to give work and provide the information, whereas leaders guide you and help you reach goals. So you kind of want to balance the two out in your workplace. And then we also learn all the different generations because this is important in the workplace, and especially at Cedar Point. There's people that are working there in their 50s, and then we also hire people that are 15 years old. So you could be working with any generation, and it's important to know the type of communication they prefer and what to expect when giving feedback and stuff like that. So, we also learn effective communication, which goes into the generations. And so, for like different generations, like millennials prefer like text messages and phone calls for their communicating, whereas baby boomers prefer face to face or emails just because that's what they're more comfortable with. And then we also learned different ways to avoid common mistakes and then to give effective feedback. So this was feedback other than correcting someone on something they didn't do right. This was also telling them like, hey, good job, and recognizing them for good things they did and not just the bad things. And then with this, we learned the I's versus U's, and you want to say that I believe you could do better with this and work on that instead of saying you messed up or you need to do this, and it just comes off in a nicer way. And then my conclusion was that it was a good first internship, and I'd recommend it to anyone that has not had one and is an accounting major. But if you have had an internship, I wouldn't suggest it because it's kind of like a beginner job, I guess. And then I think it would have been a better experience if I lived closer or if Cedar Point was closer to me because I had to live in the apartments and I didn't know anyone except one of the auditors and then like people that I worked with. So it would have been, we got passes so we could go to the park whenever, but I didn't really go often, or else I'd go to the like water park and walk around by myself. So it definitely would have been better if I didn't have to live there. And I also had to pay for it. And then I thought it was a great networking opportunity because I actually got to meet the general manager and everything, and I got to get the fundamental of leadership class and certificate, so I did get a couple things out of it. And then for my reference, I just want to say thanks to Cedar Point for the internship, and this is the time for any questions from any of you guys. Thanks.